Welcome to the Mental Performance Playbook here, brought to you by The Athlete's Health. My name is Gabe Rummel, founder of The Athlete's Health, creator of this Mental Performance Playbook, where we are breaking down elite mental strategies and delivering them in actionable exercises for you, the athlete or the coach or the parent, to then apply immediately in your game. Let's get right into this. If you are here for a post-marathon training, just know it did not go very good. And no, it was not the mental side, although that probably wasn't the strongest. It could have been, but it was the physical side for various different reasons. Yes, I ran an hour slower than my last marathon, which was over 2 years ago, but still no excuses. So as for the mental prep going into it, I used it all, but the body crashed on me. The feet hurt more than anything, and I just needed to get done. That's all we're going to say on that. What this episode is for today is this one thing to help not only our mental game and mental performance, but our overall performance. And I am excited for this one. Where it comes from is this story, actually. I was just at a conference this last weekend. And at this conference, it was for entrepreneurs. There's one sign constantly through many of the presenters. And it was a lot of information, a lack of action. However, there was a keynote. And that's not to say that those other presenters were bad. They were very good. But something just does not always stick right with me when I'm at these. And I love the information, but it's 48 pages of info, zero action is what I so commonly see. So there was one keynote, and they deliberately had a theme throughout it, had certain action points to hit on. And I wanted to talk to this gentleman after. So I've waited, and I found him at one point in the conference, had a moment, boom, talked to him. Mind you, there were other points when I could have talked to him, but then other people were using it almost as a counseling session talking to the guy. But in talking to him, I gained this exercise and this understanding that I am delivering here in this episode today. And even with the team that I just worked with today, we were at a beach. We had a mental training workshop, I would say, a crash course. It wasn't a session. It was a whole 2 hours, 10 plus exercises. But this one theme came in it through and through again. So I'm going to explain what the theme is, and honestly can tie it back to the marathon, but then a few different ways that we can make sure that we can fully implement this, that we can actually walk away and use this one exercise. So this one exercise is action. Action. Action, action, action. I'm writing that down to highlight what it is. Action. And that time, you can write it down too if you're listening to this. Now, what I mean by this is act on the mental exercises. That's what I told the keynote guy. That was what stood out to me so much. He had his talks and his narratives around it, but he had this one point to specifically act on. And it was the common theme. It was brutal honesty. And he wanted to make sure the audience acted on that. So how can we act on the mental exercise? Well, that softball team that we were working with today, 10 plus over 2 hours, their goal, take one, act on it, train it, strengthen it. And that's what I want us to do out of this episode here, because I have a feeling everyone has some exercises that you have now taken away from TAH or the Mental Performance Playbook here. If not, go back, listen to some past episodes. We're going to revamp, get the social media up and going here soon enough. Go look at some of the older posts. We put these exercises out there to help out. But in this one, we're going to go through a few ways to ensure that you actually take that action on some of your exercises. Number one, write it down. Yeah, and you could be writing this down too. But when you hear it, when you see it, when you think, oh, I want to do that, that could help my mental game. When that happens, write it down. Start to create a notes. Start to create a Google Doc. If you're in Notion, create it on there. Even text yourself. Try and find a system that will work for you. For me, I have a sheet full of mental exercises for our TH Titans. I also have an email that I respond to with lessons. I can go back and look at that. Sometimes I just actually text my own number. These are all things that I do when I get an information or things that I want to write down and implement and use to help my game and my performance. So write it down for number one. Our athletes write them down. They use it. And that is just to use the one to make sure that we have at least one being implemented. Number two, stencil it in. Stencil it in. This means on your calendar, on your plan for the day. We have a charge up cycle that we make on game days to get ourselves locked in, ready for the game. Maybe the act piece, the action, is part of this charge up cycle. And you know that you're taking action on it in that moment that it comes. But stencil this into the plan, because this ties into our number three of planning it out. Plan this out. If we just go through it without the plan in mind, without it happening, it won't happen. We need to plan out the one exercise, the one that we are going to do. Plan it out to take action on it and implement it. And then lastly, this leap of confidence, this leap of action. My buddy just sent me a video in California. He was at this little dream pond, this little dream waterway. And there's everyone, families, youngins, high schoolers, college, adults, old adults. I said family all around at this watering hole, jumping from the cliff, enjoying the water, having fun. But there is one video of this guy jumped from the very tallest, jumped super far. He had to jump to clear the rocks, and it was a heart beater when you watch the video. But he did it. It was a leap of confidence. It was a leap of action. Without that leap, without taking it, it was not happening. And that is what we need to do with this one exercise, let alone 5 or 3 or 10. Take one exercise today as you're listening to this right now and write it down. Go back and look, write it down, stencil it into when you're going to use it. Are you working out today? Do you have a performance? Are you just going to do some schoolwork or some plan for work? Plan that out and then leap into it when the time comes. And what I mean by that is make yourself do it. It's that 5-second rule. It's that spend 2 minutes doing it. Give yourself, okay, 2 minutes, I'm going to do it. After that, I can stop. Oh, jump on in. If we implement these ways, then any of the exercises that we've talked about, and we even dropped some in this episode for this one thing, the action. We went through a few different exercises in this one. We will level up our game and make a difference. And so as you leave this episode today, while I know it is shorter, please go act on it. Make a difference. Plan it out, stencil it in, and write it down. So as we sign off on this episode, I have 2 asks for you. If you like this show, if you know someone who should be doing this, send it to them. Share the show. And if you have not already, give it the subscribe, give it the like, give it the follow, the 5-star, and check out next week for our mental performance playbook brought to you by the Athlete's Health. We are going to get guests back on the episode soon enough. I'm so excited for our media launch coming up here. And otherwise, go act on that one mental exercise. Marathon information will be coming later, possibly not. Just know everything that we said in the we implemented, but sometimes lack of sleep, lack of energy, physical, actual carbohydrate energy, caloric energy, and not the best shoes just can ruin it. Catch you next week on the Mental Performance Playbook. My name is Gabe. Peace.